And welcome everybody to another episode of the Pulse of Fins Nation. I am your host, Louis Sung. I am joined by my co-host, Ron Caniff, and I am joined by Chris Duke Early. Gentlemen, how are we feeling? I'm sure we're still excited from what happened on Sunday.
Definitely. Awesome. It was a different game than I thought it was going to be. I mean, it was close because I thought it'd be close, but obviously the result was better than I was thinking it would be. So that's good right there. But the game just went completely different. Dolphins offense was definitely the best of the NFL this past weekend.
Yeah, I still kind of reeling from it. Like the excitement was palpable the entire way through, and they kind of set. I feel like I didn't choose this title by accident. I feel like they're setting the tone for what this season is going to be, as long as the key people end up staying healthy. Of course, I'm talking about Tua Tagovailoa. Basically, as long as Tua is healthy, there's nothing that can stop this offense.
Tua and Tyreek.
Tua and Tyreek. All we need is Tua.
Gotta have those two. We even showed that we could kind of go with half a Waddle, but we need Tua and Tyreek.
Yeah. So as long as those guys are good, I don't feel like there's anything that you can do to stop this offense. That's perfectly honest with me. So we're going to go ahead and get into all that. We'll talk a little bit more about what happened on Sunday. We'll talk a little bit more about what's going on in the AFC East as a whole. And we'll talk a little bit about what's going to be happening as the Dolphins get ready to face the New England Patriots. So all of that is in store for you. But before that, really quick, just want to go ahead and mention that, as always, this show is brought to you by our good friends over at U-Brake Wheel Fix. U-Brake Wheel Fix, the complete automotive wheel solution. Ever parked too close to the sidewalk curb? U-Brake Wheel Fix specializes in the repair of damaged wheels from bends, cracks, and curb rash. Or maybe your wheels are faded or peeling. You don't need to replace them, as U-Brake Wheel Fix can refinish them to like new. Offering complete refinish options through powder coating, machining, and polishing, U-Brake Wheel Fix is the answer to all of your wheel needs. And if you're just looking to give your ride a new look, U-Brake Wheel Fix also offers many car customizing options, such as new custom wheels and tires, performance upgrades, window tinting, and suspension modifications. Reach out to Mark and his staff at 305-748-0112 or online at U-Brake Wheel Fix to get an estimate in just minutes. So head on over to U-Brake Wheel Fix and start customizing your ride to show off your Dolphins fandom today. This show is also brought to you by PrizePicks.com. PrizePicks.com is the revolutionary fantasy platform where you can now pick up to 6 different players across professional sports leagues. Now that the NFL is back, obviously you can take advantage of those props, use that football knowledge that you have, and go ahead and jump in. Use the promo code 5, that's FIVE, and they will match up to $100 on your initial deposit when you sign up. Take advantage of Flex Friday, take advantage of Taco Tuesday promos, take advantage of free squares like the Dak Prescott one they gave, and just on a little minor note, basically Tyreek Hill on the over for yards and Tua Tagovailoa on the over for passing yards is basically going to be free money for the foreseeable future. So go ahead and take those pseudo free squares as well. Again, promo code 5, FIVE. Go to prizepicks.com, deposit your $100, and let PrizePicks give you $100 of their dollars for you to play with and get started winning today. And of course, welcoming a new sponsor to the show, Biscayne Bay Brewery. So make sure you're heading on over to there because there is going to be another watch party coming up this upcoming Sunday. It is going to be a Sunday night game. So yeah, it'll be a little bit later, but you will be surrounded by fellow Miami Dolphins fans from the 5 Reasons Sports Network and beyond to be able to watch the Miami Dolphins hopefully take down the New England Patriots on the road. It's going to be a fantastic evening. I'm looking forward to it. Make sure you join us. They are the only brewery in downtown Miami area. They're locally owned. They're individually owned. So it's a fantastic place for you to get your Miami Dolphins fandom on. Make sure you head on over there. All right. So the Miami Dolphins beat the Los Angeles Chargers, and a lot of the national media are suddenly coming out and saying, oh, maybe we were wrong all along. Maybe we were overreacting a little bit to Tua Tagovailoa's concussions. Maybe we were like a lot of people are suddenly admitting how wrong they were. I can't. Who's the guy? Was it Chris Carson? Is that his name? The guy who does the radio show? I don't remember who it is. Ron, you're muted. I have no idea what you're saying. So.
No clue who that is. I've never heard that person in my life. So
Dolphins Talk was talking about him on Twitter. I know that they've gone back and forth a few times, but suddenly there's a whole bunch of people who's even Keyshawn Johnson seems to have changed his tune somewhat, even if he's still skewed a little bit towards the Tyreek Hill end of the discussion. But even with him, it's like, okay, fine, we were wrong about Tua. The only one who seems to still be hanging on to dear life is guys like Skip Bayless, who keeps talking about how Tua is a soft armor and he throws dead ducks into the end zone. Never mind the fact that Braxton Berrios got shoved, and that's why it ended up being such an easy interception. He wasn't even allowed to compete for the football. And there was another dude, and Duke, I know you wanted to briefly discuss this. There was one guy who was on with Alan Pupar and Omar Kelly. And you know Alan, you know who Alan is, you know how Alan thinks. He seems like it hurts him to talk nicely about Tua Tagovailoa. And I appreciate Alan as a person, but his takes on Tua, I'm not a big fan of it. But Duke, even Alan had to look at the guy they had on as a guest funny based on what he was talking about.
Yeah, it was funny. The guy was speaking and Omar was taking a drink of water. And as Omar was drinking water, he said, "Yeah, I think Mac's better than Tua." And Omar nearly did a spit take right there on the live on the show. So I'll get into the Patriots aspect of that later. But yeah, I mean, there's a few that's going to hang around and go against Tua. But when you put up historic numbers on opening day, that tends to change some narratives. The third highest total on opening day since the merger and only the fourth in NFL history. Yeah, I mean, think of all the quarterbacks that have come and gone, that have played Hall of Fame football, put up some amazing numbers, done great things, and none of them thrown for that much, with the exception of three other guys. So yeah, that'll tend to change some things. It's not one of those like, oh, well, anybody could do it. Well, if that's the case, then someone would have.
Yeah, it just kind of felt like the whole concept is disingenuous. And we have to remember, this is the same Boston journalist who went out of his way to say that Mike McDaniel would not succeed as a head coach because he's not a physically imposing individual. Like, and Bill Belichick is. Like, I guess if Bill Belichick scowls at you hard enough, maybe you'd be a little intimidated. But aside from that, I'm not looking at Belichick and saying that, oh, this guy is probably going to eat me alive if he looked at me funny.
Well, I mean, if you put him in contrast with, Dan Campbell, then yeah, you see a little bit of a difference. But yeah. I mean, I'm there's going to be a few that hangs on to their takes, and they're going to come back if Tua has a bad game. But I think what also makes it stand out is that you see this from the contrast of just how terrible the first slate of games were. And I don't know who it was that it may have been. I think it was Peter King on Football Morning in America or whatever that is. Said he mentioned that this was opening day. It's kind of we're feeling things out. It's not supposed to be our best football, and then Tua comes out and does that. I mean, if Mahomes did that, you'd kind of expect it. Or maybe, somebody else, but Tua doing it, he's like, really, that just happened? So, yeah, I mean, you watched, I sat there and I tried to watch some of these early afternoon games, like the Saints and the Titans, dear Lord. And then you follow that game up with the absolute, just unworthy to watch Sunday night game.
Yes.
That when I turned off and rewatched the Dolphins game, it was that bad. Kudos to Noah Igbenogany for scoring the Cowboys' first touchdown of the year. Yeah, just so when you put it in contrast with what all was going on, plus the fact that it was the numbers that it was, yeah, it stands out. And so people are kind of like, okay, well, I see Tua now. Okay, before maybe it was a product of the system or it was something else. And it wasn't just that he was putting up numbers. It wasn't just like, he's making little shovel passes and Hill and Waddle are running 90 yards. That two throws. Okay. The 3rd and 15 to Braxton Berrios rolling to his left. That was
a big time throw.
That was a big throw. The 3rd and 10 that everyone has watched now a million times. We've not seen that from Tua. I don't know that I've seen a throw like that from a Dolphins quarterback in years. I think maybe Tannehill had a throw against the one that I remember was against the Steelers, where he hit Marquise Gray down the sideline for about 60 yards or some ridiculous thing.
He had a great one in the back of the end zone against the Rams that actually went as the hardest. It was the highest difficulty completion in the NFL that year too. Tannehill once in a while could just pull these throws out that were just unbelievable. But it's definitely not something we'd seen from Tua. I didn't know that Tua could do some of that. I'd even talked about on this show last year off-schedule throwing is not something Tua should be doing. He needs to stay within the offense, and he should still stay within the offense. We don't want Tua running around trying to be Josh Allen. But it's
definitely
nice to
not.
see
No,
that.
not after the performance we saw from
especially
Josh
after
Allen
last night. But it's nice to see that when he needs to kind of scramble around and make a throw, he can do it. Which I just before we hadn't seen that. So I'll give Nick Hicks maybe some credit on that as well, on the physical aspect of it. It took a few years, I think, to get him there, but he seems like, he's definitely different. He does have a little bit more pop on that ball. I know we always hear that. We always hear it every offseason about tons of quarterbacks, not just Tua. Oh, he's going to get more pop. He's going to get more pop. And then you watch the game and it's like, it doesn't look any different. And even last year when I saw Tua's arm, I'm like, it didn't look any different. It actually looks different this year. It really does.
So now this is that actually brings up something interesting, because part of that Tom Curran interview with Allen and Omar, he said, number one, first of all, the idea that Mac Jones is more accurate than Tua on its face is ridiculous. That's besides the point. But the thing that got me, and I'll go to you with this one, Ron, because you're the Alabama expert. He said that
not an expert, but
between
follow
the two
them
of us,
closely.
Between the three of us, you are the Alabama expert. Okay. Who's your school? Who are you an expert on again?
Appalachian State.
Appalachian State, man.
Right.
App State.
So that's Duke. I am nobody because I don't have a horse in any of those races, but you're the Alabama guy between the three of us. So you watched Tua and you watched Mac. Mr. Tom Curran said that Mac Jones is more accurate than Tua. False. But he said that Tua has a stronger arm than Mac. So I don't know if you think that's true or false either.
Their arm's probably not far off. I'd say now Tua seems to have a little bit more pop. I'd say it's pretty close there. I don't know that Tua has a stronger arm than Mac. Mac doesn't have a real strong arm though. But it's not. That's ridiculous. I don't think anybody's as accurate as Tua. That's just my opinion. There hasn't probably been a quarterback as accurate as Tua in the NFL since. I mean, Breeze was obviously extremely accurate. Chad Pennington comes to mind as an extremely accurate quarterback. There's been a few others.
Peyton, I would say.
But what Tua does is more than accuracy. He has anticipation that Mac Jones absolutely does not have, at least not yet. He just doesn't have it. And Tua he makes good decisions. Really good decisions. He's not just throwing it up there for the purposes of throwing it up there. When you want to watch that, you watch last night's game. That's a guy just taking his arm and throwing it up there, hoping that his guy makes a play. It's not what Tua is doing for the most part. Once in a while, he'll throw it up there and let his guy make a play, but mostly they're very purposeful throws. He's just extremely accurate, especially with the deeper passes. I think that's where his accuracy really, really shines, is the deeper throws. There's no one's even touched as accurate as he is. Like, no one can even touch it. They just can't. And now he's getting accurate on the run. I mean, that's crazy in itself right there. Watching him on the run throw these really accurate passes. 2 years ago, he would try to do that and he looked silly.
He did it against the
10
Ravens.
Yards. He would throw the ball 10 yards into the ground. You know what I mean? A few years ago, we all saw him do it. We saw him last year in week 1 against the Patriots. He went there towards the end. I don't even know why they were trying. The game was over. I don't know what the Dolphins were trying to do, make a statement or something. But we saw him, kind of make that off-schedule throw and throw it 5 yards short into the ground from maybe 12 yards out. So, I mean, the guy is just he's getting better. That's the thing. I mean, we saw a really good version of Tua last year. We're seeing an even better one now. But there's not. I don't know that there's really anything at this point that Mac Jones does better than Tua. I mean, he doesn't have better pocket presence. He doesn't read defenses better. I mean, maybe his arm's a tiny bit stronger. He's definitely not more accurate. He just doesn't anticipate his throws better than Tua. I mean, we saw last year professional quarterbacks that played in this league watch some of Tua's throws and say, I can't do that. How does he even know that guy will be there and be open? Like, how is he even aware? That's just insane. We saw Tua make some throws yesterday or Sunday that were like, man, that touchdown, like, most quarterbacks wouldn't have even thrown that ball. Might be a handful that would trust themselves to make that throw. I mean, the space to throw that ball was the size of the ball. I mean, bottom line. I mean, that was it. That was the space he had to throw it in, and he still threw it in there. I haven't seen a guy do that or even attempt to do that since Marino. But in this case, it was touch. Marino would just gun it in there because nobody had an arm like Marino, right?
I'm sure Patrick Mahomes has tried some
Oh
acrobatic
yeah, for
throws.
sure. For sure. I guess I was thinking more as a Dolphins fan.
As a Dolphin, in Dolphins history.
When I say we as a Dolphins fan, I haven't seen a guy that does that since Marino. So
Well,
not to say that Tua has a gun like Marino. I'm not. Please, people, don't blow me up for that. But I mean, it's exciting to see. I'd like to see us run the ball more and get into some of that, throw some of the check down. So he didn't need to throw the check down stuff in this game, but I hope that if the time comes where the check down is there and that's what's available, that he'll make that throw, etc. But it's just great to see. We saw from Tua what we would hope was he would be when we drafted him. I mean, that was 4 years ago. So 3.5 years ago, right? This is his fourth season. So I think that's what we're seeing. We're seeing the Tua that everybody thought before the hip injury, when he was supposed to be the number one and before Joe Burrow went crazy in college, when he was supposed to be the number one overall pick. We are seeing the Tua that was promised to us so many years ago before everything he's gone through. And it's just great to see. It's great for our team too. I mean, it's an exciting time to be a Dolphins fan, no doubt.
Yeah, and Lenny talking about how Tua is the best quarterback we've had since Dan Marino. I don't think there's any argument.
That's
about
not
that
even
anymore.
an argument. Yeah.
Once upon a time, we would have said no. Maybe you could argue Chad Pennington, but not anymore.
Yeah.
That ship has long since sailed. And I will say this: I don't know. Maybe it's fair to say I don't think Chad Pennington had the weapons that Tua has now. So maybe
he definitely did not.
Like Chad Pennington had Brandon Marshall, which was a different kind of wide receiver. Still very good, but he's not the kind of receiver that Tyreek and Jalen Waddle are.
No. Dolphins haven't had talent at the wideouts. Really, in essence, I'd say as far as a duo goes, we haven't had talent like this at the wideout position since Clayton and Duper. That's just the truth. And then the next closest would be Fryer and Ingram. That was probably the next best pair. And then, I guess you could go older into some of the older wide receivers, but it was just kind of one here and one there. I mean, honestly, Waddle and Hill are the best receiving duo the Dolphins have had since Clayton and Duper. And maybe they'll even prove out to be a better duo. I mean, who knows? It's a different era though, but I don't know. We'll see. But I've talked a lot. Like, Duke, get in on this. I'm sure you've got some thoughts. You've been a Dolphins fan like me long time.
Well, you mentioned Hill and Waddle being a great duo. It's possible that Hill may be the best receiver talent-wise the Dolphins have ever had.
So we're saying even Paul Warfield. I know that's a touchy subject.
Well, I don't want to get into a situation of talking about numbers and Hall of Fame stuff, but I think it was Shannon Sharp said this week that he said he believes Tyreek is a scarier receiver even than Jerry Rice. He said not better than Jerry, but scarier. And you think about what the Dolphins do, and I mentioned this on the post game. Raheem Mostert had the lowest yards per catch of any of the pass catchers at 6.5, which is kind of typical for a running back. The next lowest was River Craycraft at 13.3. So his average was a first down and then some. Just ridiculous amounts of pushing the ball down the field. And a lot of it's because those guys are so fast that they can generate. I think it was, I was watching the game last night and the Bills ran an RPO type play. And they threw it. I don't remember who the receiver was, maybe the rookie tight end, Kincaid, but whoever it was almost like a screen pass. I mean, he was like 2 yards from the line of scrimmage. That's what you see in the NFL. You see these guys get these quick passes and they're 3-4 yards on that RPO because they have to get it out quick for the same reason that the Jets got an ineligible man downfield, because if you hold the ball too long and they're run blocking, it's over. That's a penalty. And Hill and Waddle get 7 and 8 yards on these passes because they're so fast and they're so quick out of the box. So you can run that same play that every other team is running 3 yards on a pass, and they're running 7 yards. So yeah, he's ridiculous, and I think that kind of talent is. I mean, there are teams that want it and can't have it. I mean, they obviously had the opportunity to trade for him, just like Miami did. But I wanted to mention something else along with what Ron was talking about throwing the deep ball. There was a chart that I found today on Twitter. It was a number of passes.
If you want to link it to me, I can pull it up.
It take me forever to find that. But I've got it pulled up here. It was the total number of attempts that were 15 plus yards.
Put it in the private chat. I'll pull it up.
It wasn't, I don't think it was air yards or anything else like that. But anyway, only three quarterbacks had double-digit attempts. Tua had 15 out of 45 attempts. That's a third of his attempts for 15-plus yards down the field. That's ridiculous. Who do you think the second one was?
Patrick Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes. Who do you think the third was?
I guess Josh Allen.
Nope. Mac Jones had 10.
Oh, okay.
So it's just funny you were talking about that. I'm seeing it to you. Sorry, I can't multitask.
No, it's no problem.
But looking at that, no, Allen and Herbert combined for 9 attempts of 15-plus yards down the field. So,
Josh Allen was having his own issues, and we're going to talk about that a little bit.
And I mean, it's not, that's an aggressive offense. I mean, I've said in years past that a team that throws the ball 9 to 10% of the time that are deep passes, that is an aggressive offense. I remember looking at these back in the Tannehill days and reading some stats, and he was fairly average in deep ball attempts. Tua is just blowing that out of the water. Just 1 out of every 3 passes is down the field, 15-plus yards. At some point they're going to have
last year.
Yeah, at some point they're going to have to run the ball just to get the defense some rest. I mean, the field's only 100 yards. You throw in, you start at the 0-yard line and throw 5 20-yard passes. That's a touchdown. You're off the field. And as fast as those guys are, that's like a 2-minute drive.
Yeah,
seriously, it's ridiculous.
The time of possession, I'm trying to remember, was like 32 and some change for the Chargers and 27 and some change. So it wasn't like a huge disparity. But obviously the Chargers did have the ball more. Well, they rushed it 200 and something yards, right? 225, 230. And we just threw it. We threw it for 450 something yards or whatever it was. So
466 yards for Tua.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So there's your disparity and time of possession right there, honestly.
Yeah. It's 32-41 to 27-19.
If we hadn't turned over the ball a couple times, that game's really not close. I mean, there's always, hey, they made plays, they got a pick. There was the fumble that they didn't make that play; it just happened. I mean, honestly, and then we had the one errant exchange that caused us to punt. So two quarterback exchanges and a non-called PI were the difference between us probably maybe putting 50 up on them. Like they couldn't stop our offense. They really couldn't. It'd be interesting to see what happens with New England. New England has a tendency to make good quarterbacks look kind of mid sometimes. I mean, some of the best that go to New England in the past even 2-3 years and come out with 190 yards and a touchdown or 240 and a touchdown. If Tua came out with like 270 and 2 or 3 touchdowns, I would say success. Against the Patriots defense. They really are good at mitigating good quarterbacks. But anyway, I know we're going to get into that. We're still on the Chargers right now.
Well, we're gonna switch over to the AFC East in just a moment. But I just want to go ahead and bring this up very quickly here. Ron, you keep talking about how you're thinking of the Patriots have a tendency to make really good quarterbacks look meh.
Yeah.
Do you know what Tua's record is against the Patriots?
Oh no, they have a good record. I'm not speaking to record. Yeah, I think it's isn't he like 4-0, 5-0?
4-0. He's 4-0. He is 4-0.
Yeah.
He is perfect.
I'm not
against New
speaking to
England.
record. I'm I have no doubt we're winning this game. Just so if anybody was wondering what my thoughts were, I have no doubt we're winning this game. I'm just saying don't expect 466 yards against the Dolphins. If Tua goes in and throws for 466 yards and 3 touchdowns against the Patriots, that dude's throwing for like 5,500 yards this year. I mean, straight and Tyreek is getting his 2,000 yards well before the season's over. Like
we're going to be
if that happens. I just don't expect that kind of stat line, but I certainly expect us to win the game.
If that happens, it'll be one of those situations. We'll be in the middle of a game and it just pauses and there's like controller disconnected or something on the other end.
I know, right? That'd be
All right.
crazy.
So I want to go ahead and bring this up because this is something that I found very interesting, and it's going to be added more onto during Fins Nation. I pulled that up. But, gentlemen, you know what happened last night with the Bills and the Jets. So
hadn't heard.
You hadn't heard, right? Okay.
No.
So just as a reminder
don't know anything about it.
This is a reminder for everybody who's listening. If you've been living under a rock for the past 48 hours, Josh Allen looked awful and was pretty much the reason why the Buffalo Bills lost to the New York Jets. But that in and of itself is not what makes it bad. What makes it bad is the fact that Aaron Rodgers only played 4 snaps and tore his Achilles, which meant Zach Wilson had to come in. And somehow the Jets still won, and Josh Allen was playing the whole game for the Bills. So now you have a double whammy in that the Jets are back to Zach Wilson. They're looking for another quarterback. I think there was a report out that they're trying to trade for Jacoby Brissett. Okay, whatever. I mean, he was good against us and briefly. Yeah, okay.
He wasn't terrible. That offense looked better last year with him than it did with Watson. That's the truth.
Yeah, that's
honestly
the truth.
But I mean, he wasn't terrible last year. He was better with the Browns than he was with us.
Yeah. So Jacoby Brissett, okay, whatever. If you manage to make that trade in the first place, which Zach Wilson is going to scream and cry and holler about it, and then of course you have Josh Allen, who's looking a lot more like his old rookie self all of a sudden. I don't know what changed. I think it's maybe because Stephon Diggs is unhappy. Maybe he doesn't feel the same love that he used to, but he looked bad for Josh Allen standards against the Jets.
He did both games last year too against the Jets, even though they split it 1-1. Both games he was not good at all. he was not good at all in both games last year.
And I don't think last night was like, oh, the Jets defense is so good they're shutting him down. I mean, a couple of those interceptions were just stupid decisions.
Yeah, I don't know what he
was
thinking.
If Tua made those decisions, he would be thrown under the bus. It just like, where are you going with the ball, dude? Just bad play.
We haven't seen Tua make a play like that since. Was it his first year or his second year? Second season. Was it his second? I can't remember whether it was first or second season. Last game of the year. Fitzpatrick was out, so there was no switching in Fitzpatrick, like Flores liked to do, whatever. And he was throwing those types of passes against Buffalo. It just looked terrible. I'm pretty sure it was his rookie season, 2020. That's the last time I remember really seeing Tua just look like Josh Allen did last night. Josh Allen should know better, but I mean, we could sit here all day and talk about the Bills, but let's be honest. It kind of looks like the Bills, and this isn't one game reaction. Everybody's like, oh, one game. No, heck no. This is not one game reaction with Josh Allen and the Bills. They've been in a clear regression now for like a season and a half. They just have been, or at least since the 13-second thing happened with them and the Chiefs in the playoffs. Like that was their PTSD. Maybe the Chargers PTSD was the Jacksonville.
The Chiefs ripped their hearts out of their chest.
But I'll be honest with you, like Josh Allen, he had like a year and a half, maybe 2 years where he was just so money. But honestly, he's been in regression mode ever since. And it's kind of clear that team just doesn't look as solid. And it hasn't been looking as solid. They almost lost to the Dolphins in the playoffs at home to Skylar Thompson. That has nothing to do with week 1 against the Jets. I mean, they just haven't looked great. Allen's been struggling. He's had more turnovers than anybody else in the last 3 years. And it's not even close. It's not even close. So we see the Jets downgraded from their quarterback situation. We see the Bills regress. I think we went from the Dolphins have a fighting chance to win this division to people should be picking the Dolphins. Like if you had to pick a team and put money on it and you're forced to, you should be picking the Dolphins to win the AFC East right now. Should absolutely be doing it there. This isn't a homer thing. Like they're clearly the best chance. They have the best chance.
That's what I was going to bring up, Ron. That's what I was going to bring up. So yeah. I was talking about it I'm going to talk about it on Fins Nation tomorrow morning when it gets released. I brought in Merrick Brave to talk about it, but the odds, do you want to know the new odds to win the AFC East per odds makers?
Yeah, give it to me. I have no idea. I haven't looked at any of the odds.
So New England Patriots plus 950. There's no surprise. The Patriots are not a team that people are scared of anymore. Mac Jones is not Tom Brady, and he never will be. So that's a giving. So remember, there were some folks who were saying the Jets should be the favorites to win the AFC East. What do you think their number is now as far as the totem pole?
This I saw because I was watching some TV today. I think they went from didn't they go from I don't know, 750 to 1,800 or something. It was a big jump. I don't know.
Okay, so I mean, the odds that I'm looking at are a little bit different. I guess.
Yeah. I don't remember the exact numbers either. Okay, so
plus 800.
Okay, so the Jets are now plus 600 per DraftKings to win the AFC East. So that was a massive drop because again, the Jets were
what were they plus 250 or something?
I can't find the original one, but it's a steep drop to be sure. So now, do you want to know who the favorite is to win the AFC East? It's very, very, very close.
It's probably still the Bills, but by a hair. Or is it the Dolphins?
I saw one today. The Dolphins, I think the one I saw, the Dolphins were plus 400 and the Bills were plus 450.
So Duke has it closer. The Bills are considered, according to this that I'm looking at here, plus 145. And Miami is plus 140. I'll actually go ahead and I'll just pull it up
so
here.
That's pretty much almost even money for them. Interesting.
Yeah, so I'll just go ahead and pull it up. Though this is what I'm looking at so that you guys understand. This is from FinFanatic, by the way, that the article was put up. So that's the odds for the AFC East.
From whose odds are those? Like what entity are those from?
Let me pull this up. It's called
DraftKings.
Web Caesars. I'm not sure. It says Web Caesars. One of them is DraftKings, but what?
So it's a legitimate betting organization.
Yeah, so they have the Bills just slightly worse to win the AFC East than the Dolphins.
Well, I think they saw something last night, and it wasn't just because of the Jets game. They just saw something that confirmed what people have been thinking. A lot of people have been thinking is that the Bills might have missed their window. And I think somebody told me today, "Oh, you're silly to say that." How is it silly? Never were they better than they were the last year or two, maybe 2 years ago, when they were beating the hell out of the Dolphins and beating the hell out of the Pats and beating the hell out of the crappy Jets. I mean, none of that's going to happen this year. I even have my questions of whether they beat the hell out of the Patriots. That's the honest truth. And you've got, a lot of teams that are just much better in the AFC. I feel like they might have missed their window. I really do. I hope to not be, and I was thinking about this, I hope to not be sitting there in 2025 thinking this same thing about my own team, that damn, the last 2 years we should have won it. We should have won a Super Bowl. But it's so much more exciting to be at the beginning of this than it is to be I would so much rather be a Dolphins fan right now than be a Bills fan. That's just the truth. That's just the truth. I would be. I would be if just all things even, man. I'd much rather be a Dolphins fan right now than a Bills fan because I feel like they're heading down to a point where I think they're gonna fire Sean McDermott. They're gonna start over. They're gonna find an offensive minded coach from somewhere to run that team and get Josh Allen set straight. And the guy's there might not be a more physically talented player in this league, than Josh Allen, but he's headed the wrong way. I don't feel bad for Bills fans because they've been ridiculous over the past, few years. Jets fans have been ridiculous this offseason, so I don't feel bad for them either. I just don't. I just don't feel bad for them. And all the crap that people have said about the Dolphins and especially Tua, They can all kiss our ass. I don't feel bad for any of these teams that it's not going well for them. We had 22 years since we damn won a playoff game. I don't feel bad for any of these teams. The Jets have been in the AFC Championship game twice since the Dolphins even won a playoff game. Sorry, I don't feel bad for any of you. I don't care. I don't care. But man, it's all, it's all pointing up right now for the Dolphins, and I don't think it's pointing up for the Bills. And it doesn't seem like it is for the Jets, although I'm going to say maybe if Aaron Rodgers doesn't get hurt, that hype might have been true. The Jets do have one hell of a roster. Holy crap. They really do. I mean, Breece Hall looks like he did before the injury. Garrett Wilson is as advertised. That defense is really good, but I mean, Zach Wilson ain't going to get it done for him. You're not beating the Dolphins in the division with Zach Wilson. That's for sure.
And I guess on a minor note, it doesn't look like Dalvin Cook is going to beat the Dolphins either.
Yeah, well, now we're seeing why the Dolphins just made a little, here, I'll throw you. Here's a little 5-pack of Wendy's chicken nuggets. You want to come play for us? No, not enough? Okay. We're moving on then. Sorry. I think we're seeing what many of the more intelligent football minds were saying about Dalvin Cook is that on paper, if you just took total yards, it looked good. But if you really dug deep into the numbers, that he really didn't have that great a season. He just got a lot of opportunity last year. And that's really what it was. And I think we saw that last night because Breece Hall had no issue doing what Dalvin Cook clearly couldn't do. So,
yeah, Dalvin Cook looked old and slow. That's the honest truth. He just looked like he was out of shape. He looked like he needed to be in training camp. That's what he looked like.
No doubt.
So, but that leaves the Dolphins in a very interesting situation because all this talk about how the Dolphins wanted a superstar running back, right? Jonathan Taylor. We wanted Derrick Henry. We wanted Saquon Barkley. We wanted Josh Jacobs. We wanted this guy. We wanted all these guys.
We still may end up with somebody.
No, but hold on. I'm going somewhere with this.
Derrick Henry.
I would love it, but I'm going somewhere with this. I think the honest truth here is that I think the whole running back thing was overblown. I've been saying this for a while. I think that the Dolphins' interest in running back was majorly overblown. I think that they were basically throwing smoke signals up there, but it was just a lot of smoke and not a whole lot of fire. It was a very small fire. They had interest, I'm sure, in a lot of these guys, but you notice that they never gave up everything to go and get these guys. Not a single time were they like, drop everything to make sure you get X
No
player.
One's doing that for a running back these days.
But it's not even
if you really want one, you're not doing that.
But it's not even that. You saw what Mike McDaniels did against the Chargers. All this talk about wanting to be more big and more into the running game. He wanted to run the football more. He made a stronger dedication to running the football. He threw the ball how many times? How many carries did Raheem Mostert get? Like 10 carries the whole game.
Yeah. Wasn't much.
So like all this basically tells me, and this is something that's very interesting because we saw the interview, right, with Tua, with Mike McDaniel talking about how he was with Sean McVay, he was with LaFleur, he was with all these offensive superstars.
Yeah.
So he decided to latch on to Chris Forster, and he became the running game guru.
Yes.
Not once was it noted or mentioned that Mike McDaniel wanted to be the run game guru. He became the run game guru because that was the only way he could stand out. So now he no longer has that pressure on him. He is not expected, nor is he required to be the run game guru. So I'm thinking at this point, Mike McDaniel doesn't even want to run the football at all. Like this whole talk about, we're going to run him more. I feel like at this point it's lip service. He doesn't want to run the football. He wants to do what McVay and LaFleur and all those guys in Kyle Shanahan. He wants to do what they were doing. He wants to be a high-powered offense that scores 100,000 points. And the only way to really do that in today's NFL is to throw the football a ton. And as long as it's effective, it's just going to continue justifying his decisions because as long as Tua doesn't mess up, there's no reason to run the football, at least in his mind. I don't agree with it. I don't know if you or Duke agree with it, Ron. But and I don't think it's FinSup. I don't think it's Greer. Greer wants a running back. I think Greer wanted a running back. That's why there's always so much interest. I think it's McDaniel that doesn't want another running back. I think he's happy with Devon Achane and Raheem Mostert and his guys from San Francisco, and he just wants Tua to throw the football forever. So I'll go ahead and give your thoughts. I don't know if you believe this
Duke, you go
theory
first.
I've created.
Your turn.
Well, a couple of points to that. There was a stat out there that the Dolphins won this game while never having an offensive possession with a lead. So they were
technically that's not true. They kneeled.
Well, yeah, but I mean, an offensive possession that counted. So they were either tied or behind for much of the game. Second point, and I mentioned this on the post game, is when Tua's cooking like he was, don't take the ball out of his hand. I mean, Tyreek Hill, 11 for 215. Tua, 3 for 466 yards and 3 touchdowns. You just keep rolling with that.
I agree.
The third thing is the running backs that they looked at. Okay, so they looked at like Dalvin Cook, and he was all of these guys were under contract. I don't think there were any super big name guys out there that were free agents that I can recall.
Yeah, I mean, there was lots of free agents to be had too. I mean, besides Dalvin Cook, right?
Yeah, but he wasn't until
Zeke. There was Kareem Hunt. There was like a few others, and
nothing. I think the biggest one obviously is Jonathan Taylor, and I think when you add in the fact of his age, his skill set, what he brings, that he adds a different dynamic to it than, say, Dalvin Cook, who is an older running back. You're using him basically as a rental. So if they let's say they revisit this trade around the trade deadline and they go after Jonathan Taylor and get him, he's under contract for 4 to 5 more years. That's your guy. Dalvin Cook was always, he's here this year. And if they can't get him and Tennessee implodes, I mean, they make it look for Derrick Henry.
That's the one, man. I hate to root against Tannehill, my boy, but I'm rooting for a total implosion over the next 3-4 games, because I think they would be, you know what? Let's ship off Tannehill to the Jets. That's a terrible match because they got no offensive line. He's got the worst pocket presence in NFL history. Let's ship Derrick Henry off to Miami.
Come on.
Dude, this guy's pocket presence is ass. We all know it, but this isn't Pulse of Sensation from 2017.
To say NFL
need to talk about it. Yeah, he's really bad. But that's my hope. Sorry to interrupt you, Duke, but I just want to say, man, my dream of all of them, including, is to have Derrick Henry for like a year or two. Oh man.
Yeah, you could. And the other part of that is it's going to be a committee approach. So whether they get Taylor or whoever they get, it's going to be a situation where none of these guys are going to get 20 plus touches a game unless you're just running the ball super hot.
They're not going,
which is what I don't understand what the Jets did, unless it was maybe a load management situation with Breece Hall, since he is coming back from an injury. It's like, that's the only thing. Like, why are you taking the ball out of his hands? But it's like, well, this guy is coming back, so I get it. But I think that's where the Dolphins are going with this. And I think you're going to see the same usage when Jeff Wilson's in, whether it's Achane or whether it's Ahmed, whoever's getting RB2 duties. It's going to be one guy's getting about 10 to 12, the other guy's getting about 8 to 10, and that's how it's going to be. And so I don't think he wants to abandon the run game as much as he's just, I mean, Tua was dealing, and you roll with that. And so to answer that question that just popped up, why wouldn't they be listening on Henry? They absolutely should.
Yeah, I think they
would. That division is bad enough that they could still be contending. They're a wild card. Okay. They're not beating Jacksonville. Jacksonville looked very good. And they looked they had some issues there against the surprisingly feisty Colts.
Yeah, it's first week of the season. All the bad teams are feisty, man.
Yeah, so
I mean,
Jacksonville's going
to be fine. They've got that division.
They're winning 12 games in that division.
Easy.
No chance.
Yeah.
So Tennessee's fighting for a wild card spot. But if they are, what's the trade deadline? Week 8?
Something like that. I'm not 100%.
If
October
they are
31st.
Two wins in, say, they'll have and Derrick Henry's not under contract anymore after this year. He's got some void years on his deal, but he is, after the season, he's a free agent. So he's somebody would say, hey, we can get something for him. Why don't we get something for him now and start this rebuilding process with Levis or Willis or whoever their quarterback of the future is going to be, and start acquiring some assets for guys that are not going to be there. And they might could do some salary cap funny business to get out from under those void years or however that would work. But that's absolutely a deal that I would go for, because what he adds to the offense is something they don't have. And look, I'm a fan of Chris Brooks. I'd love to see him take over and be awesome. But you've got a chance to get a 6'2", 250 pound. When that guy came out in the draft in 2016, I was talking with a couple other guys, and we called him CMP. He was a created Madden player. Of all the years that I've played Madden and created running backs, Derrick Henry was that guy. And so if you have a chance to get him, just think about it. Hill and Waddle and Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
You go ahead, Belichick. You defend that, because Mike McDaniels is going to figure out how to get him the ball, and you've got this hammer. This is going to crush you in the run game. You can't play light boxes, but if you play heavy boxes, then you've got Tua just knifing up defenses. I better calm down. So.
Yeah, I know. I know this is a family show. So just to touch on Lewis really quick on what you said, I disagree that they wanted to go after a running back. I think they clearly showed that they wanted a running back. I do think they want to run the ball. I think what happened in this game is that McDaniel, man, he knew, he's like, man, my man Tua is cooking, and these guys can't even dream of slowing down Hill. I'm not gonna give the ball to Mostert and Ahmed. I'm gonna keep riding this train until they figure it out. And if they don't figure it out, good, then there you go. And that's what happened. I mean, the Chargers never figured it out. Whatever it was they did last year, if they tried to do it this year, it certainly didn't work. If they did something different and new, it definitely didn't work. And you heard I was concerned about Derwin James like being a problem, and he did make a lot of plays, but it just wasn't enough. J.C. Jackson was bad. Joey Bosa, the only time I heard his name called was when he committed some penalties. Khalil Mack was non-existent against Lamb mostly. Like I said, Joey Bosa did very little against Austin Jackson. Now they were giving Jackson a little bit more help. They were giving the tackles a lot of help. They were giving the tackles a lot of help last year. And even I won't say that Staley complained about it, but he commented that, he got a little snarky with some of the Chargers press corps, and he's like, they were sometimes keeping in 7 or 8, man. Like, he was annoyed. It's like, look, dude, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, we couldn't always. I guess they were kind of asking, it's like, how did you not even get a hand on Tua with Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa? How is it that you couldn't get to him? They were pretty much asking that, and he was just like, look, Tua got rid of the ball really fast, and they would keep extra people in to protect, and their offensive line did a great job, and just a combination of all of that. But I do think that we want to run the ball more. I don't think we're out of the running back sweepstakes yet, but probably only a couple names left, and that would be Taylor if something were to happen. I don't think I don't think that the Colts are serious people. At least I don't think their owner Irsay is. So for me, I think the only shot you really have at really adding a guy is Henry, or you're going to ride with who you have. So we'll see. I think there's going to be games where you're going to need to run more. There was games last year where they ran more. In the second half of the season, they had some games where they really did run the ball. So I still think it'll be scheme specific, team specific. This was just one of those games where, man, the offense was cooking, Tua was cooking. And I think McDaniel probably switched things up and said, let's ride with this, man. Tua, you can't stop Tua right now. They can't stop us. Let's just keep going with it. That's the right thing to do. Don't be stubborn. When something else is working, don't be stubborn.
I mean, I feel like the only games that you were talking about there where they did run the ball more were the games where Tua was not able to actually get into a rhythm. So I think those two went hand in hand. It was more like McDaniel saying, it's not working. Let's just do this because I don't think we're going to win this game if I keep trying to force Tua to do something.
Well, there you go. That might be a situation where there are times where we're going to need to run the ball.
Right, but that's not the question. The question was, do they want to? And the answer is no. They need too. But
I
they don't want
disagree
to.
that they don't want to run the ball. I don't think they want to see a stat line always like that, but I think you're going to see plenty of them because there's just going to be times. Man, the Chargers are an extremely talented defense. They have a lot of talent on that defense. Now, we're going to face another talented defense in New England, and we're going to face a lot of talented defense this year. We faced the Chargers already. We're going to face the Jets twice. We're going to face the Cowboys. Right, there's some good defenses we got coming up.
Oh, I'm sure Micah
the Chiefs
Parsons
defense,
is chomping at the
they're
bit.
pretty decent, and especially now they signed Chris Jones for the year, so they got that figured out. But there are going to be some teams where it's going to look like last year in Houston in the first half. There's going to be quite a few games this year that are going to look like that. You're gonna pay hell if Tua plays 17 games, keeping him from the MVP. Like, he's the leader in the MVP race right now. And until further notice, even over Patrick Mahomes, because Patrick Mahomes has a wide receiver problem. I think that's clear now.
He
has a wide receiver. He has a wide receiver problem that Tua definitely does not have. So I think if Tua plays 17 games, he's going to be the MVP. He's going to throw for 5,000 yards, and you're going to see a lot of what you saw in this game. You're going to see them pick on just bad defenses throughout the season sometimes, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens against the good defenses, I guess, is more the point I'm making. This is a good test for Dolphins are going to win, but this is a good test for the offense to see what they can do against New England coming up Sunday.
So speaking of, let's go ahead and we'll talk very briefly about New England. Obviously, I still don't know if 3rd and 59 actually did check. I never bothered to check, but regardless, Mac Jones ultimately put together a decent game, at least for him anyway.
He had a good game. I think Philly's secondary is not what it was. They took some losses, and I think it maybe showed a little bit. But Mac Jones definitely better than he was last year, for sure.
Okay, yeah, having an actual offensive coordinator helps with that. So
100%. Bill O'Brien is no slouch either. He's pretty decent.
All right. So with that said, though, Dolphins are going to New England. It's going to be a nighttime game, 8:20 p.m. By the way, watch party, Biscayne Brewery. It is happening again, so make sure you're.
I won't be there. I remember I'll be at the Seminole Hard Rock in Fort Lauderdale.
I was going to try to convince you, like, hey, just come down a little further south.
I can't do it, buddy. It's like a little vacation thing. I'm bad enough that I'm gonna be walking away for 3.5 hours to go watch the game. I'm definitely not leaving the hotel.
Okay, so it's a family thing.
Yeah, and if I leave the hotel, it means I leave longer. Who knows how much money my wife's going to throw in those slot machines. So I got to stay close, man. I got to stay close. But for anybody not going to that and wants to meet up with me at wherever, I'll be watching at the hotel there. I won't be in the hotel room. I'll be at I'll probably go to the Hard Rock Cafe or whatever the restaurant they have there and watch it.
Fair enough. But hey, if you change your mind, the invite's open.
I'd love to do it, but I won't be changing my mind.
Tell your wife that Lewis invited you as a one-time thing.
Yeah, negative. We have some friends coming too, so I'll have another friend there watching football with me and stuff. So yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, understood. Understood. No problem. All right. But okay. So New England Patriots. So I want to go ahead. We'll do this. Who's our zero? Who's our hero? And what's the score going to be? Duke, I'm going to go ahead and give this one to you.
Man. I can tell you who I'm going to pick for zero, and I'm going to pick a position group, and that's the linebackers, the stack linebackers. I'm not counting the edge guys. Until they show up in a game, they're going to be the zeros. They just weren't there Sunday.
So not impressed with David Long and Jerome Baker.
Well, David Long wasn't on the field very much, and that may have been
It's weird.
Yeah, that may have to do with the fact they were running the ball so much. Well, guess what the Patriots are going to do? So,
I mean, they didn't do it against Philly though. 300-something yards. I think they only rushed for 72.
They didn't, but they were behind. They were behind 16-0 right off the jump.
That's fair. They were behind.
They were playing catch up.
So,
and they just saw what the Chargers did. I think the Chargers had like a top 10 all-time rushing day against the Dolphins.
Yeah, they'll go to school on that tape for sure.
So they're going to figure that out.
Work to do.
So the defensive line, and I picked them last week, and I picked Wilkins just because I thought he was going to be maybe playing a little too hard, or just he was going to not show up the way he was supposed to, which he did. But this week it's the linebacker for the zero. For the hero, I'm going to I'm
You
going
can
to
pick
stick
the
with
obvious answer if you want.
no, because I'm going to stick with the offensive line, and I'm going to say Kendall Lamb. He was 12th, tied for 12th in win rate. There was a tweet about that. He was 95% win rate in pass protection.
I think that was actually from CK from 3 yards per carry.
He was tied with guys like Tristan Wirfs, Garrett Bowles. So New England obviously doesn't have the edge talent that Matt said San Diego again that the Chargers have. So,
but they scheme better.
They
play call better on defense. Even with what's his name, Stanley Stadley. What the hell's
Brandon
coach?
Staley.
Thank you. I said it earlier. Even with him having a defensive head coach, they still scheme and design defense.
We cannot dismiss Matthew Judon like that. Okay, he's
he's excellent.
He's a good pass rusher. But I'm going to go with Kendall Lamb as the hero because I think he played well enough and did well enough that you can say, you know what, Teron, we need you, but this guy can hold it down until you are 100% ready to go.
Whatever 100% looks like.
Whatever one. I don't think 100% is physically possible.
His 100%.
His 100% was probably like 80%.
That's going to be the hero. And Austin Jackson could be there. He played very well against Bosa, but Kendall Lamb's a backup. The moment Teron Armstead was ruled out, panic ensued all over Dolphins Nation. And what happened? Kendall Lamb pretty much pitched a shutout. So going to go with him again this week for a hero.
All right. And what's your score?
It's probably not going to be as high scoring as last week, as much as I would like to see that. I think the Dolphins defense will rebound against a Patriots team that's not quite as talented offensively. So, and they're probably going to play more clock control like the Chargers, but I don't think they'll be as good. I'm going to say Dolphins 27-17.
All right, Ron.
All right, so I'll go with my hero. I think Javon Holland's going to wreak all kinds of havoc on Mac Jones. I think I got Javon Holland with a pick 6 and a couple picks in this game. I think Holland will be the guy. And he had a monster game. He didn't have any picks, but he had a monster game last week. I think he led the team in tackles, if I'm not mistaken.
14 tackles.
Yeah.
Solo.
So, yeah. So I think that Javon Holland will continue that, but have even a bigger game. This might be a statement game, a game where people are around the NFL outside of Miami will be like, yeah, this Javon Holland guy's pretty damn good. I think it's going to be one of those games for him. I think he's going to cause Mac Jones all kinds of trouble. My zero. My zero. That's tough, man. I would almost say Connor Williams, but he seemed to kind of get the snapping thing under control after that beginning of that game. So I'll leave that. Honest. I'll leave that alone and not jinx it.
Not to cut you off, but I personally feel like I can never put Connor Williams as a zero because even with his snapping issues, he is still rock solid.
Yeah, but he almost it could have cost us the game. I mean, we only won by 2 points.
I get it, but as a blocker, zero complaints, none whatsoever. He's awesome as a blocker. That's the reason I can never zero Connor Williams. I can't.
Man, I don't know who to zero. This one's tough.
You can't zero Durham Smythe.
No, I'm not. I don't know that Durham
with getting Durham Smythe the ball.
Yeah, I don't know, but man, this one's tough. I just feel like the Dolphins are going to have a really solid game, you know. Gosh, I don't know. Maybe Mostert. Maybe as little as we ran this last time, I think maybe we struggle even more to run against the Pats, and we end up trying to throw it a lot, but we won't have as much success. So might look a little uglier, but we'll still win. I actually had it 24-17. I was thinking maybe 27-17, but I don't know if we quite get to 27. So I'll say 24-17. And I tell you what, if Jason Sanders misses another extra point, he's going to be my zero every freaking week till the end of the year. That guy took years off my life. Jesus. What are you doing, bro?
I'm saying 27 without with the pick 6. So 24 with the pick 6.
Oh, you got a pick 6 in there too? Is it Javon Holland as well?
You had the pick 6. I'm going 27 total offensive points. So
okay, I say 24-17 with the pick 6.
That means
I just don't think. I think our offense will be tampered down against New England for the most part. So
all right, well, For my 0, I am going to go ahead right here and there, and I'm going to go ahead and say that it's going to be Raheem Mostert. Like you said, Ron, I don't think that he's going to do a whole lot. I still believe. I know that you guys disagree, but I feel like Mike McDaniel does not want to run the football that much. He wants.
You might be right.
He wants to throw it all around the yard. He wants to make it to that. Tua's right. Tua's going to throw it to Tyreek Hill in the middle of the field. Going to throw it to a Tyreek Hill down the field. Going to throw.
You do have evidence and data and history on your side, there, Lewis. I will give you that.
He wants to throw the ball like. It's a game of Madden.
So far, the evidence would dictate that you might be right. I'm not convinced of it yet, but you might be right, man.
So I think Raheem Mostert's the 0, and as far as who the hero is, I'm gonna go with the obvious answer: Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill. So Tyreek Hill is gonna be the guy who's gonna be doing the whole Dolphins offense. Him and Tua are gonna be continuing to do what they were doing. I don't care how much Belichick schemes. I don't care how much they try to look at it. You cannot cover Tyreek Hill. You can't. There's nobody on that team that can match up. Nobody. No. So as long as Tyreek Hill, as long as if they blink for even a second and let Tyreek Hill get in man, he's going to be wide open down the field for a touchdown.
That's the thing about this is what's interesting about it is Tua saw more of a defense that he's seen in the off season, like against his own team, with the Chargers. But he's now going to see a defense that he's used to seeing for years, right? Because he's going to see a Brian Flores style defense, which he's familiar with. But we'll see how successful he is against the Pats.
Well, we have to keep in mind
that's interesting.
Brian Flores' defense was Josh Boyer defense.
Brian Flores' defense couldn't stop Baker Mayfield, so maybe we should stop celebrating it so much. I'm just saying.
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say, like I said, my 0 is Raheem Mostert. My hero is Tyreek Hill. As far as what my score is going to be, and we'll end it off here, Dolphins are going to score 33 points. They're going to score. I have no reason to believe now.
And the Pats will score.
The Pats will score probably somewhere along the lines of 27 points. I have much more faith. I have much more faith in the Dolphins offense to put up a bazillion points than I do in the defense to stop them from scoring.
So you think Mac Jones will not be mid Jones in this game?
I think Mac Jones will throw 3 touchdowns, but it's going to be all at the goal line after Ramondre Stevenson and them have run for like 150 yards. So they're all going to be like goal line touchdowns. So that's how I feel like he's going to throw like 150 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's what I think Mac Jones is going to do.
It's going to be an interesting game. I'd love to come out of here with the win, be 2-0 going home for the home opener. We have 9 home games and a neutral site game. So the scheduling gods were helpful to us. So it'd be really nice to be 2-0 heading to the first home game, which I don't remember, sadly, who we play.
Denver.
In week 3. Denver. Interesting. They didn't really look any different than the Denver.
No, they looked like I was watching that game at Biscayne Brewery too. It was like it was the
they
same.
Looked like the same
Broncos that I'd seen last season.
They seemed like last season's, and Russell Wilson maybe a little better. Mostly seemed like last year's Russell Wilson.
So it's like Sean Payton can't like fix that much.
But you talked about facing good defenses. I mean, the first 4 weeks of the season, the Dolphins get the Chargers defense, the Patriots defense, the Denver defense, and then the Bills defense. 3 of those games on the road. So if they come out of here with a positive record and the offense looks anywhere close like it did to game 1, who's going to stop them? I mean, those are 4 tough defenses. I mean, I'm not going to judge what the Bills did last night, given the situation, but you expect them to be a good defense. So, and the Broncos were only a halfway decent team last year because their defense kept them in games, despite the fact they were scoring like 13 points a game. So, you come out of that. Let's say they come out 4-0 with 3 road games against those teams and those defenses, and Tua's got 15 or 16 touchdowns at that point or something ridiculous. Just go ahead and book a ticket to Las Vegas.
That would be awesome, wouldn't it?
I like it.
All righty. So, any final thoughts before we call it?
I don't think we've beat it up enough.
Shoes Can 61 wants to know why Kader Kohu hit Justin Herbert in the end zone and no one called the safety because the ball was out.
Yeah, the ball would have already been in the end zone the moment Kohu made contact with Herbert, and it wasn't. That's why That's why it wasn't a safety.
If he moves. So the question there has to do with like the walk-off safety from Cameron Wake.
I was thinking about the same thing. Halloween night.
Yeah, so his forward momentum was stopped immediately on that one, and they were questioning whether the ball had crossed the plane. So in this case, when Kohu grabbed him, Herbert was still he was in the grass, but he was still kind of moving around. So had he maybe maneuvered a certain way and Kohu slams him in the end zone and he doesn't get that ball across, they could have ruled that a safety.
Yeah, in that case,
it would have been one of those questionable things, probably would have thrown a challenge flag either way, but the fact that he maneuvered and then stuck the ball out,
yeah, but when he made contact, Eric, I see Eric there. Hey, what's up, bud? When he made contact, like the ball was still out of the end zone, right? When he made contact, and it was just all kind of one motion with the tackle. Like it just wasn't a safety. I never thought it was a safety I never even questioned it. Like right at the first millisecond, I thought, was that a safety? And then I was like, no, it wasn't. Like that just wasn't a safety. It worked. Hey, it worked out. They only punted to the 34 and one play touchdown. So I'm not going to complain. And we won the game. So,
yep. All right. So goal.
The ball out of the end zone.
Goldilocks. I love that.
Goldilocks.
Nice. And I think if I were doing a Chargers podcast, Pulse of Chargers podcast or whatever it would be called, my question would be, and look, I get the running game was working, but you saw what your defense was doing, and you knew they weren't going to stop Tua. At what point do you say, all right, I've got this guy I just paid $1 bajillion to. I'm going to let him open it up and throw the ball. We need some quick scores.
They didn't trust him.
It was the fourth quarter.
They paid him all that money and they don't even trust Herbert. They pay him all that money and they don't even trust him. Man.
Yeah,
That's
but
hilarious.
if I'm a fan, I'm questioning that. I mean, again, the run game was working, but at some point it's got to be like, all right, you pay this guy to win, and I've went back and looked at that intentional grounding, and I saw a video today. Somebody said, I think it was a Chargers fan, said that he had a hot read out in the flat. There's two things with that. Number one, he wouldn't have got there to that player the way he was standing. He just never saw it. The blitz would have gotten there. But if that was the hot read and he didn't go there and he either didn't see the blitz or he thought it was going to be picked up. So somewhere there was a miscommunication there. And I also thought there was a guy that looked like it was, maybe he was expecting the guy to be somewhere that he wasn't, and the guy was coming back to the ball. I don't know. That was the broadcast viewpoint. So it worked out for Miami, and it probably was intentional grounding, but I thought it was more questionable when I rewatched it than I did initially.
No, Mike McDaniel had to scream and holler to get it.
That was intentional grounding, man. I didn't find it questionable. That was intentional grounding.
I didn't see anybody.
There was nobody even. Yeah, that was intentional grounding.
I mean, and I made a joke somewhere else that I called Justin Herbert Ryan Tannehill 2.0. But look at that last sequence. Was that not like 2015 Dolphins-esque?
Yeah, it was, man.
You get a first down, great. Sack, intentional grounding, 30 yards deep for a third down. You get a small completion, about half of it, sack, end the game.
Yeah,
that's so Dolphins. So
yeah, the old Dolphins.
Yeah, that's so Chargers.
That's old.
All I know is there was, with the game on the line, Dolphins had to score a touchdown to win it. Tua drove them down, scored the touchdown without issue. Game on the line, Justin Herbert shit the bed. Justin Shitbert. He shit the bed, man. As he always does. As he did at Oregon. I'm telling you, he's the same dude he was in Oregon. The biggest arm you ever saw, complete choker when it matters. And I think we're clearly seeing that Tua is not someone who chokes under the pressure. In fact, almost feels like he's thriving on the pressure. Like he wants it. Like
he's like hyper-focused.
Like Marino used to it was almost like he wanted to be down 4 points or 5 points with the game on the line. It's like he lived for it. And I won't say that they want to be down like that, but Tua doesn't seem to mind it anymore. It doesn't seem to make him nervous. In fact, like the team has full faith in him. It's no longer like, let's pretend we have faith in him to make him feel good. And I think maybe at first there was a little bit of that. But the team clearly has full faith that Tua is the guy. Tyreek Hill believes in Tua. It is not just, oh, he's my quarterback, so I got to say it, and he's going to leave. I think you're going to see for the rest of Tyreek Hill's life, anytime you hear that guy talk, you're going to hear him say awesome things about Tua, like nothing's going to change. So, and it's like Tua's getting like, it's more now than just the what he does physically. Like he's on a new level, man. He's on a new level that we haven't seen him on yet.
Did you see his reaction on the game-winning touchdown? Like the other touchdown to Tyreek, he's in the backfield, he's pumping his fists, he's doing all that. The touchdown to Tyreek that he drops in a bucket, just he turns around like, "Yep, I'm that dude.
I'm not. I
am
him."
Yeah, like he didn't run over there and grab Tyreek. He didn't get all animated. He just kind of turns around and waits for Tyreek to walk to him. Like, yeah, I'm the man. What can I say?
Or maybe he was worried Jason Sanders would miss the extra point.
Yeah.
He it's like, please, he was looking over Jason Sanders. Don't you miss this extra point?
Well, but still, it's a level of confidence and just that swag.
All right. We're going to go ahead and call it here. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me. I much appreciate having you guys as always. Everybody who watched, thank you very much. Head out and check out You Break Wheel Fix if you need to get your wheels fixed up, or if you just want to give your ride a new look. 305-748-0112 is the number to call, or you can go to youbreakwheelfix.com. Go to prizepicks.com. If you're going to get your daily fantasy on, use the promo code 5. That's FIVE, and they will match up to $100 on your initial deposit when you sign up. And of course, Biscayne Bay Brewery. They are the only brewery in downtown Miami. They're locally owned. They are the place where we're going to have another watch party that is going to be happening. I believe it starts at 7:00. So once again, make sure you show up. We're going to be there. All the 5 Reasons crew is going to be there, except for Ron. Ron has family things, so I'm not going to give him a hard time about it. So family always comes first. But for those of you who want to come and watch the football game with a bunch of Dolphins fans, Biscayne Bay Brewery is the place to be. So make sure you check that out.
I'll come down like when I'm not like, I don't live in South Florida. I just happen to be there. But this past weekend, just because we made plans, because it's way cheaper to stay at that Hard Rock on a Sunday, Monday versus like Friday, Saturday. It's double the price. So expensive. But
we'll have more.
I'll come down to some of these for sure. I'll come hit some of these because I'm not that far away from Miami. I live in Central Florida. So. Yeah, I'll definitely come down and hang out. Like a 1:00 game would make more sense for me because it is a few hour drive. So I don't want to be driving that at 10:00 at night, or I'll have to get that Cuban coffee, man. You have to hit me up with that before I go like last time.
That's the one thing Biscayne Brewery doesn't have, and I think they need to add that to their menu. They have like espresso shots. They don't have like actual Cuban coffee. I'm like, hey guys, you're
in South Florida. You got to have Cuban coffee, dude. Wake up. Come on now.
All right, guys. That's going to be it. Thank you all so much for coming. Next week, we'll have another episode of Pulse of Fins Nation where hopefully we're celebrating another victory. Fins Nation tomorrow, we're going to have Extra Yard with Alex Dono and Troy Stratford. And I will have on Friday another Behind the Enemy Lines episode. We'll have a Patriots guy on. Lots of Dolphins content coming. We'll see you all next week for another episode of Pulse of Fins Nation. Good night.